No, I am not going to tell you about the exact procedure of tempering steel. In fact, it is the name of my favorite book, and it is not about metals. I learned about this novel in quite an unusual way. My mother and I happened to be on a crowded train, and she told me that in the past the trains were so overcrowded that it was easier to get in through the window than through the door. She mentioned this book as an example. In the story, the two main characters, Pavel and his friend Rita, were to take a train to another town. Even though they had the tickets, it didn't mean that they had seats. So Pavel managed to get in and then helped his friend to enter through the window. The action took place in Ukraine in the beginning of the 20th century. The story is actually the autobiography of the author, Nikolai Ostrovsky. He took part in all the events that he described in the novel from the name of the main character, Pavel Korchagin. It all starts in the first decade of the 20th century. The first part of the book tells about the childhood and the adolescence of the characters and explains their further actions. Majorly, it gives reasons to why Pavel joined the civil war on the side of the Red Army. Their mission was to create a country where people would be equal and their rights would be respected. As the plot developed, the USSR was created, and the second part of the book mainly describes the life in the early years of the state. It was rife with rebellions and riots. There were many candidates to take up the power. So, in order to stand up for someone's beliefs, a person needed to temper his character. This is how the strange title is explained. The author compares a person's nature to steel. He implies that the more challenges someone faces, the stronger he becomes. I mean, during the harsh times, decisions are not easy to make, and dealing with hardships makes a person more mature. For example, none of the characters were willing to participate in war actions, but the choice was either to put up with the existing system and let the emperor take the throne again, or to fight for the rights of the workers and then live a decent life. No doubt, Pavel chose the latter. As I read, I noticed the changes Pavel came through, from a naughty boy to a persuaded patriot and communist. In the very beginning of the story, he was mostly concerned with making pranks and having fun. But then the Civil War came and he realized that there were more important concepts. He joined the Red Army and made new friends with whom he shared beliefs. With the members of the Communist Party, they performed a lot of social work to support those in need. The novel was extremely popular in the USSR. No wonder it displays the role model of a Soviet person. Pavel was a perfect example to follow for several generations for his devotion to the country, his honesty and his pro-communist beliefs. In the Soviet times, those qualities were incredibly valued. Even now, when everything has changed and the ideals are totally different from those of the author, this book still appeals to many people. In fact, it vividly describes the reality of the early USSR. Also, it displays different social layers and how they reacted to the totally unfamiliar environment. As representatives of the working class, Pavel and his comrades were eager to start a new life. However, the intelligentsia and the former nobility objected to the system. I recommend this book to anyone interested in history and to those who want to know more about that intense time. I'm pretty sure you will discover something interesting and worthy.